Well, I have a lot of great memories of Scottish wrestling because I used to go on tours. There was a Welsh promoter called Williams, and he was very smart, very, very smart man. And he used to run everywhere where nobody else used to run. So he would take a tour up into Scotland, and I went several times, and he would go to every little town and village. So I've done Bucky and Wick and all these places where there was a village hall or a town hall, and he would go up there, and because there was nothing else going on, he was very smart. And I'd go and Finlay would be on it, or Giant Haystacks, and he would put a show on with a small group, usually just 4 matches, but guaranteed to sell out. Right, because there's very little going on. So I spent a lot of time travelling, seeing places that most people have never seen in Scotland. It's funny because I talk to some of our talent now, Nicky Cross and the Coffees and stuff, and I say, have you ever been to Wick or to Bucket? No, we've never been to these little places that I've been to, and these little towns. And I've wrestled in the Shetland Isles. I wrestled in the Shetland Isles. Isn't this? I wrestled in the Shetland Isles. This is pointing at the moment. 1987 in March, and my roommate was Jushin Thunder Liger, and that was a one-off for Brian Dixon, who just got it. We went up and did Aberdeen. Aberdeen was the occasional time you'd go up for a British promoter. You would for an English promoter you would go up. Or I used to also work a guy called Len Ironside, who's a counsellor now in Aberdeen, I believe. He used to run the odd show up there, and I used to go up there and do the odd show for him. And a guy called Ian Law, who used to pay me, at the time, ridiculous money to go up there, with more money than I would earn in a week in England. He would pay us, like Mark Roswell Rocco would take me with him, and Johnny Saint, and we'd go up there and he'd pay me like £80 a show, and I was making like 15 a night here and things like that. And it was a long way up, but just things that I remember. I have great fond memories of Scotland, and I have a lot of fond memories of people, Scots people that I lived in Blackpool with. Now to see the talent and the things that have happened there, because it became like there was not a lot of wrestling happening anywhere, but more so in England. And then all of a sudden I'm hearing about this company in Scotland, ICW, and then there's this other company and they're running this, and then there's this wrestling school, and then there's people actually moving up there, and Gillian Dane moving over from Ireland to live there because there's that much work going on in Scotland. And I'm like, good for them, great. There's talent there. I met the Coffey Brothers 7 years ago. The first tryout that I did in the job that I do now was in Birmingham, and Robbie Brookside had recommended him because Robbie was going up there a lot to do seminars for different wrestling schools up there. And Robbie recommended, he said, you'll like these two. He said they are in a different league as far as proper, hard-working pros. Because there's a lot of people that sort of get into this and play at it, and I've always been, I'm a big believer in everybody should be a proper, professional, hard training athlete if you want to do this for a living. Whether people agree with me or not, I don't know. This isn't a playing that game. It is if you're just doing it on a certain level. When you're a pro, considered a pro wrestler, you should be a pro athlete, right? Doesn't matter what you look like, it's just you should train like a pro. And I met these two, and I was like, I've got to find a spot for these two. They were the hardest working and entertaining-wise promo guys that I'd ever seen. There was also a lot of people that on that particular tryout, and Becky Lynch was on that tryout as well, that got hired. I couldn't quite find the spot for them. The first Blackpool tournament, the first two people I called was Mark and Joe. They were the first two people I called, and unfortunately they were signed up to do another thing, and they couldn't do it. And they were the first people that I knew about all these other people, but they were the first two because I was always looking out for a spot for either of them. And they were constantly kept in touch with me for from that moment, that first moment I met them. I've always been in touch with them because they're in a different league. Then I got to meet Wolfgang, and I luckily he got a spot, and not luckily for him, luckily for me. The thing is, it was lucky for me that he was able to do it because he broke out on that and was a star on that, and then has become a main player for us now. When I ever say anything about being good, this is not about me. I'm fortunate enough to have this job where these people are able to come and, when I ask them to come and do this thing, because they're so good. I'm the fortunate one here, not them. When people say, "Oh, NXT's done this," no, or no, it doesn't matter whether it's NXT, ICW, Progress, all these things that people talk about. The people who run it are fortunate enough to have the talent to make those things work. Without the talent, nothing works. Without having these incredible people that want to work hard and do this, we can't put shows on. So it's us that's fortunate. I was fortunate I met Nikki. I knew about Nikki. I know, wow, this young lady's going out and making her life hard, right? She was, because I knew about these training seminars, I knew about these shows, and it's my job. It's just one thing I do. I know what's going on around the world, always. I had to do that when I was living here, because I had to know who was wrestling in what country, what promotions there were, because I used to try and get booked in them. That's how when I was living in England. So that's something I've always done. I don't care about wrestling gossip. It's no interest in me, because it's just people's one-sided, their view of something, or somebody's, whatever it is. I find out for myself, but I do know where everybody's working at any one time, or who's working for what company. That's just a thing that I've always had to do. And I'd heard about Nikki, and I was like, wow. And then Robbie'd say, yeah, she works hard. So just his recommendation, because I know he's so close to me, that was the kind of thing. Let me find a spot for her. Let me find. Again, there was a time when the British wrestlers weren't the best talkers. But every time I met anybody from Scotland, the Coffees being one, Nikki was another, and Carmel who was in ICW. I've told her, unfortunately, there's never been a spot open to her. Not that I don't keep looking. She's wasted, and I hope she sees this, and I hope she hears this. I've told her from day one I've met her, she's wasted. She should be a top-rate actress. She's so good at talking, and should be. She could play. She cuts promos that are just. She can tear your heart apart, make you feel every emotion possible. She should be in some gritty drama, some high-quality TV show somewhere. So somebody else, I hope other people from other worlds are watching this. You need to go and find out about that lady, because she's wasted, unfortunately. It's great that we can hopefully do something with her, but I hope she's so good at that talking. And I was finding all these people from Scotland that could just go into these things and blah, 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 and I'm like, where's this all come from? Because with everybody else, now the English fellas have got caught up, but I was having to sort of lead them through it and teach them a lot of tricks about things. This was 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2 years ago, teaching them tricks about how to communicate with people, the skills that I'd had to learn. Never had to do that one time with any of the Scots people. They were just like, I think it's a lot of it growing up in certain cities where you have to be a bit more, right? And I had that here, so you've got to be a bit more on your toes a bit, right? And you can, when the camera's on, you can turn it on, right? Or you're like that in real life, or it doesn't matter how you get there, it's being able to do it now. And they were all like that. So I've loved it, that it's been a big help to me. I know, I single out people, but I know ICW, that they've been very, very helpful and helpful with us, and they've given a platform to a huge amount of talent there, and thank them for doing that, because again, we're fortunate that we have this great crew of talented pros, but sometimes, and me being a wrestler myself, doesn't matter how good I am, if I don't have somewhere to work, somebody doesn't give me an opportunity, I can't show how good I am. And so it's a two-way street, right? But thank you to them as well.
Thank you.